Welcome to the Penguin Magic Podcast. I'm your host, Erik Tait. Joining me as always, my good buddy and co-host, Nick Locapo. Nick, how you doing?
Rocking my, what are these? David Blaine bicycle split spades, 2010
Nice.
Bengali deck. What? Come on.
Well, on today's show, the main event is going to be Jon Armstrong. We are going to be talking about a new trick from Craig Petty and taking a listener question on dealing with butterflies. Let's start off with the trick from Craig Petty. Credit swipe has dropped.
This is a fun trick. Have you tried this one yet?
I haven't. Well, I played with the gimmicks the other day in the office because there was just a set of them out, and I really like the artwork that was done, but I haven't actually done the trick yet. But back in my old bar magic days, I did Presto Printo all the time.
That's what I asked, because I thought I remember you saying once that you were a Presto Printo guy.
Oh yeah. Oh, big time.
Yeah. See, this one I've never, not because I didn't want to do it. I just never, I never bought it. I never did that trick.
So, like when I was early on in Magic, there was a shop that I worked at called Precision Magic by David Mann. He used to make like one of the best floating canes, and he did some like really fun hot rod stuff. But I worked in his shop in Pigeon Forge, and it was back in the day when there was like packet tricks galore, and Presto Printo was one of the ones that I demoed a lot. And it kind of stuck with me because it was super fun. And then when I started at Magicopolis behind the bar, it was just an easy go-to because the visuals were great. It was an immediate hook. And if you're not familiar with credit swipe, you present a handful of blank credit card stock. Like it's just like normal like gift cards or credit cards, but they're blank on both sides. You take a credit card out of your wallet, and then as you touch them together in various ways, they print. And then you can start to like really morph the ink, like give it a shake and all of the numbers fall down, or tap it a bunch. And then there's like all of those like tap to pay chips like appear all over it. But probably the coolest one is the palm of the hand.
Mm-hmm.
That's really,
Swan gets like a huge reaction in the demo video. Yeah.
it's a great update. And also the fact that Daryl's estate gave us and Craig permission to do this was really great. So it's like it's done not just as like an homage to Daryl, but also like with the approval of his estate.
I guess just shifting the prop over too does allow you to, a little bit more variety in your set if you're trying to not do another card trick, but still kind of want to do another card trick. And it's secretly a card trick. But it's great. It's a great, it's a really strong trick. It's fun to, I always view these as something that I'll keep around with me for a few months. And really dig into it and see how it goes, and then shift it out for something new, and then shift it out again for something new, then shift it out again for something new. But they come back to it at some point, one of these types of ones.
Yeah, I think it definitely has like long-term legs in many people's close-up sets, just because it's so modular. Like you don't have to.
Right.
I think one of the things that's really wonderful about this take on it versus the original was a pretty linear routine, right? Like first you printed the back, then you printed the face, and then you printed like a double exposure type thing where the back and the face were together. And then you did some stuff where you printed only a quarter of the card, and then it sort of ended up with a smear. Whereas with this one, Craig really explored a wide variety of options with the gimmick, and so you've got all these different phases that you can put in different orders and different reveals and really fun additional artwork, like the palm on the hand you couldn't do in the card one.
It's about finding the ones that these things just work for different people too. So having that giant array of different reveals and ways that you can go about it, you'll find the ones that you like. They're the ones that you like to do. They're just fun. It's the type of trick that teaches you how different reveals work as well. actually trying to convince your audience that you're morphing ink or moving parts on having the numbers vanish from the card. Like, what does that feel like when you actually perform it? And this is a good trick because you're in the safety net of like a really strong structure
Mhm.
of the trick. There's always another effect about to happen.
And it's Craig Petty, so the tutorial is 18 years long and features 9,000 tricks.
Mm.
Well, Nick, uh, we got a listener question via Instagram. We haven't had one of those in a while, but listeners and viewers on YouTube are
Mm.
always welcome to reach out, especially through Instagram. This is from Elhanan Hertz. And Elhanan asks, Hi, Eric. I was wondering if you and Nick had any pointers on overcoming my butterflies while performing street magic. I'm always so nervous that I end up only asking one or two people, which feels great, but I can't get myself to ask anyone else. Would love to hear your thoughts. Thanks.
One, I think I've met Mr. Hertz before.
Oh, yeah?
The name maybe sounds familiar. I'm not sure. Not sure. And then I can't quite place them. Yeah. So in street magic sounds like we're talking about like not like the street magic's always in question here of like what definition of street magic are we talking about? Just sounds like he wants to show somebody a trick in a bar.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm getting from Mr. Hertz is
Or
that,
maybe on the street, I guess. Probably
yeah,
like strangers on the street.
yeah, like, I don't think it's filming the way you and I go out and do it.
Yeah.
I think this is just somebody who is having fun with magic and wants to do more of it, and wants to find other ways to perform, and sounds like not just for friends, but, like, for other people to improve their
Yeah, well,
skills.
that if that's the case, that's why I'm kinda trying to dig into it, like, if
Yeah,
he's literally walking up to people, strangers, and, like, asking them to see a trick, look, that can work out fine, but, uh, that's probably one of the first things that might help you eliminate some of that fear is, get to a more comfortable environment where you're more likely to get a yes out
yeah,
of somebody. People that are outside you usually have something else going on. Walking to somewhere, and really it depends on where you live too. If you try to show somebody a street magic trick on, I don't know, I Drive in Orlando or Bourbon Street in Louisiana, the people are gonna say no, get out of my face.
mhm,
Um, which is why. So if you could get to find yourself either like a decent bar or even like a cafe of some sort where people are there, they're planted. You can kind
mhm,
of observe and see what they're up to. Are they having an important conversation? Are they
mhm,
chilling with some friends, having some laughs? And it's almost first step is like a little bit of just social awareness of the person that you're going to be
mhm.
approaching, which is that's a whole other topic. But if you're outside, I don't know. What do you think? You
I
think I'm on the right track here?
I think you're on the right track. I think your your environment definitely dictates a lot of if you're gonna get a yes, but also, like, dealing with the butterflies of, like, asking someone, because just, like, when I lived in Los Angeles, I was down in, like, Hermosa Beach a lot or, Venice Beach, and walking up to a person on the street is kinda is weird, right? Like, it's difficult to do because you are absolutely on the right path, but if you're in a more social environment, like a bar or a cafe, and you kinda walk over and you go, "Hey, I'm a magician, can I show you a trick? I really wanna try this out," or something, and I think part of it is repetition. So, like, A, being in the right environment, someplace that makes you comfortable, but then B, getting used to walking up to people, uh and really, honestly, one of the things to do is to try and find a bar or a restaurant or a cafe where you can get, like, a gig as a tableside magician, because it's one thing to, like, show people a trick for fun that you're working on in a social environment, but I think it's a slightly different thing if you're, like, if it feels like you're there in a more official capacity.
Mm. Hmm. There's so many like more. You're right.
Yeah.
You basically need a story. You're gonna need some reason. I mean, not everybody's gonna want one, but like you should probably. There's so many techniques and things. Like the one thing that you can do. Well, so first of all, eh, the butterfly part of it, you either have to learn like to perform magic tricks with butterflies.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. Or, a lot of these things that we can detail here, they'll set you up for success more. And if you have success, you just have more fun. And the more fun you have, the less you care about, whatever else is going through your head. So, one thing that helps a lot, what like if I had to approach like a total stranger, is one of the first things that would come out of my mouth would be to give them a time constraint. Like, I only need, hey, this is only going to take a second. That's like one of the first, like, just imagine what would happen if some stranger walked up to you
Mhm.
and started talking. You'd be like, oh God, what does this person want? And
Mhm.
when are they going to leave? It's basically
Yeah.
the two things that enter everybody's head. So, that's why you need a story. When we approach people out at like filming,
Mhm.
we have the advantage because we have like a camera crew with us, so it looks a little bit more like professional. But at the same
Mhm.
time, we still have to have a reason, right? When we say that we're just filming stuff for YouTube, there's a magician over there. Do you guys have a second? It only takes a minute. Do you want to see a couple tricks, right? So it's just, and that's one way you can go about it. Like, get permission first. The other would be just to like the other thing that would go through my head would just to like walk up and like just immediately dive into it, just like force them to like take your car.
You know what, I have found myself doing if I'm just, like, out in a bar or a restaurant and I want to do a trick for someone, especially if it's something that I'm working on and I wanna see, I find a way to make myself interesting so that they invite me to perform for them. So, I'll be sitting, like, if, just as an example, maybe I'm out on, like, a Saturday afternoon, and I'm having a cup of coffee at a cafe. I'll sort of shuffle cards or do, like, a couple of flourishes or something like that as I'm sort of, like, scrolling on Instagram and enjoying my beverage, and invariably, someone will go, "Hey, what's going on? Like, what are you doing with those cards?" And I'll go, "Oh, I'm a
Yeah,
magician. Do you wanna see a trick?" Like, if
yeah,
you do
that's
something if they're inviting you to perform, then it takes away a lot of that, like, nervousness about asking them. Because I think a lot of the butterflies come from you're worried they're gonna say no.
sure. No, it's a great point. It's another way in. It's just to uh have somebody invite you.
Mhm,
I would that's an old standard. Sit at the bar, order a
mhm,
drink, put the deck on the table. Even I mean, bartenders are great to perform for as well, especially if it's a
mhm.
dead bar.
Yeah,
They'll happily watch anything. They don't care. They're working.
yeah,
So yeah. So if you're just trying to get some reps and but also work on talking to people and feeling comfortable doing magic, I mean, you're doing the right thing.
yeah,
But yeah, don't get off the street. Like,
yeah,
get off the street. That's a tough spot to for anybody to be in.
yeah. Get into an area that is where people are meeting each other and it's a social area where, like, walking up to a stranger would be normal.
Yeah.
Yep. And also join your local magic club. There's definitely opportunities to perform there, and getting up in front of people is a big part of it and the reps. Uh, but thank you, Mr. Hertz, for your question. We appreciate it. Looking for other people to give us questions. This week's interview is with John Armstrong, who just won Parlor Peller Magician of the Year at the Academy of Magical Arts Awards.
That's our guy right there. Congrats to
Yeah,
John. Um, John, man, John's a damn good magician.
he really is. This is his second award because he's won Close-Up Magician of the Year there, which I have seen that act, his Close-Up Magician of the it's just with a deck of cards. It is a
Yeah.
killer,
Yeah, but he's
killer act.
done with all that. He don't do card tricks no more. right? I don't
He
think
doesn't for fun. He and I did the Portland Magic Jam together.
Oh,
And
okay.
he'll late at night, he'll bust out a deck of cards and he'll fool you. He'll fool you with your own
Okay.
deck, which is
The
another
moon
thing.
phase is correct. You all know that's great. John, yes, one of when I moved to Orlando, I don't know how much have we talked about John Armstrong much on here. I can't remember.
I don't I
Feels
think
like it feels like we've talked about John Armstrong, but I don't know if we have.
but he's like been our friend for years. So I think he comes up whenever we talk about Lucky Coin because we both owe a
Right.
lot of his work to Lucky Coin.
That's probably where it is. No, I mean, I think my it's not even like a long story. It's just more admiration. But I'll keep one of the first time I ever went to the Magic Castle, which was in 2010, 2011, 12, somewhere there.
Mhm.
Um, I had never heard of John Armstrong, and somebody said John Armstrong is doing a private show in the basement. That sounded cool. I'd never been to a private show at the castle, so I went down there. I sat right in the front, and yeah, he roomed me with like that 3 card Monty with the monkey,
Oh yeah.
a lucky coin, I guess. And I remember he came to he was from Orlando, which is where I was living. He came to Wizards Magic Theater not too long after and lectured on a bunch of stuff, and that's kind of where the lucky coin started with me. But yeah, he's just always been kind of a force of magic nature.
Yeah. He's out there doing great stuff. And watching his stand-up show is really fun too because you really do get a sense of like the magic is powerful and funny and interesting, and he carries the show all the way through. But also, people should go back and like watch his first couple of Penguin Live lectures, and if you can get a hold of his L&L DVDs, because he had like one of the last like
Yeah,
3-volume sets, Armstrong
yeah,
Card Magic.
yeah.
I won my copies of Armstrong Card Magic in a little basement competition at the Magic Castle, and that's where I learned a really awesome full deck oil and water with the salad dressing presentation. Uh,
Mm.
his
Yeah, all that stuff is like, God, what's that trick you used to do? Like put the spectator's head on the shoulder?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
where it was like a double mind reading thing.
something like that. Yeah, it was like a
Yeah,
peak, it was like a peak thing, right?
yeah,
I can't. Oh no, it was like a fan peak type of thing, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Very, very fun. He's got a lot of. It's kind of weird that we can talk about John Armstrong and that's not like right, like oh yeah, I remember when he used to do this and this and this. I don't know. Yeah, I've never seen a stand-up show. I don't think so. But
Oh,
yeah, I just
dude,
reminisce about the old days of John Armstrong. Yeah,
you would love his stand-up show, and
I'm sure I would. Yeah.
the interview this week is all about John's stand-up show. Well, oh, you know what? You owe us a convention report. Before we get to the main event, you owe us a convention report
Oh,
from Illinois.
the Danville, Central Illinois one day magic get together.
How, tell us about it. Give us the convention report, Nick.
It's a full convention report. So we did. Wow. Great location at the Danville Community College,
Ooh.
right? So like an actual proper auditorium, and like the lectures happened in classrooms. So
Oh, that's fun.
pretty sweet. I did a workshop on Friday night on the whirling card,
Mhm.
which is always fun. I know you've seen that, but I get everybody to like wear one and actually try the trick, which is really fun. So everybody has to literally all the magicians are sitting in the crowd, and then all of a sudden it's like carrot, so I'm gonna stand up and put on a put on a card and fly it, which is fun. And then I spent time with them afterward to actually like teach people how to make the gimmick and everything. So there was a lot. There was a nice handful of people that actually made cards and actually put them on and actually learned how to fly them. So
Oh, that's
that was
great.
very satisfying. Saturday, uh, I did the lecture in the morning, which was good. Who was the first? I actually can't remember who the first lecturer was, but Scott Green was after me. Scott was there,
Mhm.
so the lecture went well. Um, I did the close-up show, which is rare for me,
Yeah.
which was rare. I did, you know what I fooled everybody with really badly?
Yeah.
I borrowed the deck first, so I just walked out with nothing, borrowed the deck from the front row,
Love it.
and then, I did, one of my favorite tricks from Scarney on cards, but then I had a pretty sneaky switch and switched in for Divide and Conquer. A
Oh,
and, yeah, I had cards planted under the chairs and, like, under the close-up mat. So, I hadn't done that trick in a while,
oh, that is
and
evil.
it was really fun. Yeah, that it was real good. It was really good. So Divide and Conquer made an appearance. And then I did the stage show, which it was nice again to run the set that I've been doing,
Mhm,
the looping set, which I know we haven't probably talked too much about it around here, but the set that I wrote for the castle last time, which is kind of
mhm.
sticking with me at this point. I
Nice.
haven't really made any changes, but came away with some good good new ideas. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was the show was big. The show was like pretty classic magic convention show. I mean, there was Rabbit, there was Illusions, there was, John Jansky, you ever heard of him?
No, I
He does,
haven't.
like, speed painting.
Oh, cool.
He was right before me, and he had the entire stage covered in a tarp, like and this is a big stage. So it was, like, fully covered with all this tarp, and he came out and he painted, somebody thinks of somebody and he paints them.
Mhm.
But yeah, he had there's a lot of cleanup before I came on, which was interesting. I was trying to gauge that if you know my set, it was some
Mhm.
timed aspects where I need to know exactly what time I'm coming on.
Yeah.
So that was almost some stuff to manage. But overall, yeah, Chris and Julie, they run a good ship down there. Um, so yeah, it's just a 1 day thing. So I guess it probably happens around this time every year. So if you're around Illinois or Iowa or Ohio or Kentucky, take a look at it.
Awesome. Thanks for the convention report, Nick.
That's it.
We're gonna kick it over to the main event, an interview with freshly minted Parlor Magician of the Year, John Armstrong. Nick,
Mm.
I'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Thanks as always to Nick for joining me on the show. On to the main event. John Armstrong will be familiar to longtime fans of the show. He's a legend among modern card magicians, but has recently taken a turn towards stand-up magic, and he's currently one of the top entertainers aboard Disney Cruise Lines. Just last week, John won Parlor Magician of the Year from the Academy of Magical Arts, also known as the Magic Castle. I caught up with John via Zoom, and now you get to join our conversation. John Armstrong, welcome back to the Penguin Magic Podcast. And let's begin by saying congratulations on winning the Academy of Magical Arts Parlor Magician of the Year.
Thank you, Eric Tait, my buddy. I appreciate that, man. That's so nice of you.
No, this is huge. This is your second award from the AMA. You've been
Yes,
Close-Up Magician of the Year.
yes,
And
2006. So at this rate, I'll be 70 when I'm on my next one.
no, this is a huge deal because you were known as a close-up guy for a long time, and you have transitioned into a stage performer. But before we get into that,
It's
tell
true.
me about the award, because the award is like really special.
Yeah. So Johnny Gon has been making these wands now for I think 40 years. The original awards were different. Were
Mhm.
actually like Divergent's hands, cast in metal, and then these awards, which I think there's going to be a video component, but I'll describe it to our audio listeners as
There
well.
is.
It's a cherry wood box, all completely done handmade wand box. Inside is a spun wand with real silver tips and then a inside a velvet sort of interior, and then a little plaque that says Academy of Magical Arts Parlor Peller Magician of the Year, because this year they added the Peller feeder as part of the Parlor awards. So again, I get to explain to laymen not only what a Parlor magician is, that's hard enough, but now I have to explain what a Peller magician is.
Oh,
But
I mean,
great. I'm very honored, and I'm only being That was sarcastic.
No, I was talking to Paul Green a few weeks ago about the award, and like the wand is cool, but the box is like a real piece of furniture. I mean, it
Yeah,
is.
it's amazing, and I'm very lucky to own one. Not just, I mean, I have two now, but it's amazing, and comes in this really beautiful velvet bag, and yeah, I was ecstatic. So
This I mean, this is really a recognition by your peers of your incredible transformation from, world-class close-up magician to world-class stage magician.
well, Parlor. I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not a stage magician in the sense that I do like, like big grand illusions or manipulation acts or birds, that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm a stand-up act, and that's really where I've been putting all my focus in. And I'm not silly. I'm not stupid. I don't believe that this makes me better than anyone that was nominated or didn't get nominated. I mean, there's so much that goes into these awards that have a lot more to do with name recognition contests than actual, like, merit-based things. Like, I mean, geez, the people who were nominated in the award with for not nominating the award with me, any one of them could have or should have gotten this. So I know it. Just I was the one that was on the foremost of mine when they opened their email that day and voted, because that's how they vote on these awards. And so it's no different than an Oscar, an Emmy. All those systems are all based on just who's campaigning, who's first of mind, name recognition. But there is, I will say, saying all that, I will say that usually, for the most part, if you take a look at the history of the awards, the people who've been nominated in those categories in those years are usually people who are doing interesting, clever stuff, working in that world, and are getting recognized
Yeah,
by that. So it is, yeah. So it's nice. I'm just not silly enough to believe that this makes me better than anybody.
it's a really kind way to put it.
No,
Um,
it's
even
true.
though I've seen your act, you are better.
Oh, even though you've seen my act, wait a second. We just worked together recently,
We
Tate.
did
Oh,
at the
yeah.
we no. So if you've never seen John's stand-up act, you really need to go see it because it's he shares these charming stories of his daughter, and also is uh you're kind of a lovable smartass.
Yeah.
Like,
The way that people describe it to me is either asshole or jerk. I think, are the 2
yeah,
things I get, but lovable usually beforehand, lovable,
yeah.
and, it seems to work for me. I mean, there's not much daylight really in, on the person on stage and the person off stage, so let's.
Uh, what you and I've seen you do your lecture, How to Win, which is sort of a outcome of your book, How to Win, a couple times. And maybe our listeners haven't heard this, but what was the motivation to go from close up to stand up?
There's a couple things. Honestly, money. I really felt like I needed another sort of avenue and put effort into an avenue. I had done stage parlory shows before because I'd been hired to do them, but I never put any effort into it. Like I never really like made a big focus in it. So to have that as an offering that would be a strong offering, was something that I wanted to do, obviously for money. Also, I was very, very, very sick about doing those 3-hour walk around gigs where I constantly felt like all I was doing was creatively hiding and wasting time, because I just having to reprove myself every 5 minutes was just grating on me. And so yeah, it's that. And then also, I mean, there was a factor to the sense that I kind of felt like I had done this. I had put all this effort into close up, and then I kind of did it. And so now I needed another avenue to sort of explore and to create in.
What what was the first sort of what was your first go-to like instinct when you were really starting to put the effort into creating the stage act? And maybe I'm not asking it correctly, but I feel like when I started to focus more on stand-up magic, like the first thing I did was I went to Penguin and I just like looked at the category of like every stage trick I could buy. But that doesn't strike me as something that you would do.
You know what? I think there was definitely some of that. There was definitely the categorization of what was available to me, almost like training wheels. Because there, as you well know, you can buy many things from Penguin and other sources where you would be able to just basically buy, lift, and do the material. Get 5 minutes, you slot it in, and it's sold that way. Pack small, plays big, so on and so forth. So I looked at all that stuff. And I was doing that, but at the same time, I wanted to be very clear that I wanted to take this voice, this who I am and how I performed all those years in close up, and just find a way to make it make sense for me on stage. So not just I was not just looking at material or the magic aspect of it. I was writing. I was writing who I was on stage. I was writing um bits. I was writing what I wanted to get across. I was writing. I spent much more time writing than I did straight up just buying stuff and then trying to then buying it and then trying to put the presentation on afterwards. I was trying to find things for I wrote the stuff first and then I went to find the things that fit the writing I was doing.
That sounds like a lot more of a difficult way to put together a show, writing the premise first before you put in the magic.
I think so. I mean, but it works for me, and it,
Mhm.
it works in the sense that like the show feels very unique and genuine to me. I feel. I mean, your mileage may vary, but like I like that I'm getting across to them. Like it's about me and about where because I ultimately think, and this is something I wrote about in the book and I talk about all the time, that people want to meet other people. Like people want to have experiences with other people. And the magician, the archetype of the magician, has a tendency to be sometimes godlike and off and can be off-putting and build a very strong fourth wall. You're not really meeting that person, you're just viewing that person.
Mhm.
And here I was trying to make sure that people were going to get a chance to meet me, to spend time with me, to feel like that they had actually mattered in the experience. And then that was what was going to, make me break in, make me a little different than what was maybe going on out there.
It's interesting when you put it that way because I think the tendency for a lot of people who are getting into platform stand-up type magic is to insert bits like a stand-up comic. Like, they'll do smaller things and then do comedy, or they become a mentalist. And you didn't really do either of that because even though I know you're a great writer and very funny, uh, there's no there's almost no monologuing in your show.
No, no, it's very important to me that there's magic at all aspects as much as possible. And that just again, I was just trying to, and I love mentalism. You got to be.
Yeah.
I've always said this. My three hobbies are theme parks, comic books, and mentalism. Those are my hobbies, and love it. And I just did not want to be a mentalist. I felt like that is not where I wanted to go, because there was a lot of people that, and it's happened over time, and it's happened now, but it's happened before, where groups of these people who are very well known as close-up magicians decided that they needed to again expand their repertoires, whatever. And then the thing that mattered, that appealed to them most, was mentalism. And so all these guys went through mental pause, is what I called it. All these guys went through mental pause, and so like everyone was doing mentalism, and I mean, there's mentalism aspects to my show. There's obviously some mental magic. There's definitely I'm playing with stuff, but I do not come across as a straight mind reader. And it was very important that I did visual magic. That's what I wanted. Yeah.
I know that you love comic books and, because the majority of our conversations are about Marvel and not magic, but do you consider power set on stage?
Yeah, very much so. It was actually very easy for me to really consider my power set and sort of my superhero ideas, the things that I've talked about before, the superhero theory where about like people are defined and magic is defined by their powers. I I wanted to make sure it was very clear what I could not do on stage when I was writing stuff, and I also wanted to be clear that of the reasons why I couldn't do it, and I thought there was a lot of humor to be mined in that. And because again, what's more relatable to people, as what's more relatable? Someone who can do everything, or fails at things, and I'm trying to be more relatable, and that's the thing. And I
What can't you do?
What can I do? I can't make anything float. I just can't.
Mhm.
I do not have the ability to suspend or levitate anything. It just would not happen. And it was great. And one of the things that has become like a very common thing that you see in a lot of people who just are buying props and immediately just doing, assembling material and then just doing it, right?
Mhm.
Is the floating table, which is a great effect. Los Angeles is a genius, no argument there. But they're just doing it. They're just not. They don't have any personal spin to it. It's like, here's
Mhm.
a table, look, it floats, right? And to me, it's like that is a godlike power that you're demonstrating. You have to have some kind of motivation or some kind of reason to be able to do that, and that usually is not happening in the shows that I'm seeing. And so I immediately said the easiest way not to have to worry about that is never to be able to do it. Like, I just can't do it.
Which it's so interesting, like, that's the one thing that you can't do because and this is, borne out by sales data that I've seen, is that levitations are, like, the most popular thing for magicians to do, at least among magicians.
Yeah.
It's insane how if you have a halfway decent product that levitates something, you can buy a new car, right? And that's something that you have, like, actively stayed away from.
I mean, look, I'm not saying it doesn't have audience appeal. It certainly
Mhm.
does. I mean, there's a I mean, Locapo, does the card thing, and he
Yeah.
kills with it. I mean, he's amazing.
His
But like,
his only power is to be able to levitate stuff. That
and,
explains his hair.
and be super handsome.
Yeah.
But I don't. I just knew him instantly, and it's not just bad. I mean,
Mhm.
the way that I look at it is, I have to be everything that I do or any power that I demonstrate is based in my cleverness more than anything else.
Sure.
I my Me being 2 or 3 steps ahead of the audience is what I'm trying to maintain throughout the whole show, which is why another being important to me, is the show itself, right? The show has to be, even in my 20-minute parlor set that, that got me this award, there's a bunch of things that come together. There's callbacks and through lines, and then everything comes together at the end. It's very important to me that it's not just I do the rope trick, I do the card trick, I do the floating table trick, and then there we go, we're done. Right? Like, I need everything to then have a reason why I did it, and then it all links up together at the end. So, for example, really quickly, I do this bit in the parlor show where I say, you guys are going to decide what trick we're going to do. We're going to trick one or trick two. And they decide. And as we all know, I have control over how they're going to decide. And they choose. And I ask one guy, I say, hey, John, with an H. And I make fun of the fact that he has an H in his name because it's unnecessary, because I don't. And I say, hey, if you were to choose one, which one would you choose? And he chooses two, and then the audience votes, and they always end up choosing the other one. And I go, "Oh, sorry, John, you missed. It's okay, but everybody else voted against you, and and so let's see what they got. Oh, we're gonna make something appear. That sounds great. I'm wondering if John would have got his way, what would the trick would have been? And then I open up the paper, and the paper says, John takes over the show shirtless. Right? So that's the first time that happens. Then later in the show, there's another bit where there's another choice of what trick we're gonna do. John chooses something, and then it's just a card trick. Oh, he chooses a card trick, and then all the other options that he could have chose, much like a bank night,
Mhm.
are, shirtless John, it says, right? And then at the end of the show, I go through this whole screen about my daughter, and then she's going to kindergarten, and then I'm going to have to, yeah, all she's doing lately is using sight words, and it's so annoying that I have to keep teaching her these sight words. And I end up doing a really weird presentation of the Alan Wankling name matrix, where the number that's forced ends up on a chart of the sight words, which ends up being two words, KNOW and shirt. So no shirt, and then the numbers that are left on the board that they chose spell John's name, right?
Yeah.
So all of that came together, and that's only one of the through lines. There's another through line where I give out a box, and then later on I take back the box, and there's a bunch of stuff that happens there. So like that is all in 20 minutes.
Mhm.
And so it was very important to me and to do that, I had to go up every single show in the parlor. I had to go to someone find someone who had a name. It always has to be a man. I can't use a woman. That would be completely inappropriate. I had to be a man or a male facing person. And I say, like, what's your name? I make sure he has a 4 or 5 letter name. That's what they then have to write. And I'm not exaggerating, 37 times.
That's nuts.
I've had to go back into Parlor, write it
Mhm.
37 times over all these things for all the methods that I'm using to work. And then I did that show, and I did that 3 times a night through the week at the castle. And so now, because I've done it so often, it's super easy, and I've spread it all out from my longer theater shows. But that core premise is just one of the many sort of through lines. Not to mention the competition, but then when I did my masterclass with Managing Inc., I talked about this through line progression thing that I have through them, and and other ideas that I'm constantly trying to always have something that comes together at the end where people go, "Oh my God, we did not see that coming." And so my power is cleverness. That is the I am slightly ahead of anybody else. That's what I'm trying to get across.
That's a fascinating way to look at your act and to describe a power because there's, like not many heroes, their power is based on their cleverness. I mean, it's, Mr. Terrific, Batman, and that's about it. It's usually the villains who are the clever
Right.
ones.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, and then there's like mutants that are like, those kind of strategic mutants, like
Mhm.
what we not Deadshot, Bullseye, things like that. Who are thinking miles ahead. Or in this case, like you could also say that, like, some of it, is luck that I get lucky, but I
Mhm.
don't. That's I'm really going from straight up like my cleverness is allowing me to do this. So
Mhm.
nothing I'm doing is supernatural. So nothing I'm doing would be able to be otherworldly in the sense that I am causing nature to change. I'm just making really cool things happen in a clever way, and that's kind of where I'm going with this. And it was, to me, it was the natural extension of being a card magician. To me, it was the natural extension of going from, I spent all of this time learning how to do sleights and be amazingly technical with cards. How can I achieve that same type of feeling with other objects, with other things in a larger space? And that's kind of where I came up with it. Again, I wrote first and then I did the tricks later.
You talk about your daughter a lot on
Cool.
stage, and it I'm gonna pay you a compliment as I insult other people, not just because you're my friend, but I'm curious as to how you accomplish this. Uh, Normally, when I see a magician talk about their kids on stage, I want to throw up in a bucket because it's super saccharine sweet, and it just seems like a cop out. Of like, "Oh, look, I'm also a dad." It doesn't feel that way when you talk about your daughter. You even slightly make fun of her a little bit as you're trying to find her a babysitter.
Right. Yeah. It's
How
another aspect of the show. Yeah.
how did you when did you start introducing her into your show?
Almost immediately.
And
Almost immediately.
when you were doing stand-up or when she was born? Were you
No,
already were you
no,
already
no,
doing
when she was
stand-up?
born. I mean, obviously, I've been doing she's 4, she'll be 5 in July.
Mhm.
I've been doing this longer than that. So I will say that there was definitely my show before her and show after her, and I think the show after her is better because, like, I was able to write some interesting stuff. And so you're asking about, like, the whole saccharine thing, you're talking about, like, when people do, because I think, I agree with you that sometimes when people are trying to relate to the audience, they just spout out facts, trying to get the "ohs," and then
Yeah.
it's like when people say, like, "Now it's time for a song to salute the troops," right? Like, no, I mean, that's great, but still, you're doing that because you're just trying to get the applause for the troops. You're getting the troops' applause. You're just, and I never wanted to do that. And so, like, I'm talking about the just like a stand-up comedian,
Mhm.
I'm being honest about it. I have a whole routine about being annoyed that I have to teach her spelling words. I have an entire routine where I'm trying to, like, pawn her off and talk about, things, in a funny way, but in fun, all these things that this person is going to have to do, to babysit her, in this terrible contest that I've rigged so that I can get free babysitting, and all of that is then established earlier because then I say, I'm a dad, and that I have these videos of her, quote unquote, doing magic, where she's like holding this broccoli and then she tosses the broccoli and I say she made it disappear. And then I have this picture of her holding a blank card that I drew dots on. It makes her look like she's doing the spot card. And so like I do the spot card, because of that. And it's a way to introduce her organically where I'm not just like saying, oh, by the way, I'm a dad. I have a daughter. Here's a picture of my daughter. Okay, now I'm going to do a card trick. Like the whole thing is organic. It's based in this is an excellent example. One day I saw my daughter playing with a card and flipping it over exactly the same way you would with a spot card. And I went, oh my God, I know what that looks like. I grabbed a card. I immediately drew some spots on it. I put it in her hand and I started filming her. And I do a spot card in my show. I never did a spot card in my show beforehand. I do a spot card in my show because of that. So again, the real life action happened, and then I went out to seek the trick to go along with the real life action. And that's, I think, what makes it genuine. It makes it that it doesn't feel like I'm just sort of cramming my kid in to get an extra of or applause. Like it's genuinely a beat, and you're learning about me. Again, my goal is to have people walk away feeling like they've actually spent time with me.
When you got onto cruise ships, were you on Disney before your daughter was born or
Yeah.
after your daughter was born?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was.
What was the experience like, and how did you learn to handle uh, young persons on stage? Because I've always been terrified of doing stuff for children, right? I have like 2 tricks in my restaurant set because I love working restaurant magic. But when kids show up at this bar for brunch,
Right.
I'm like, I'm gonna make you a lollipop and then run away because I don't know how to do that. And
Okay.
you spent a long time like performing for adults in corporate events. Like how
Sure.
did you start to relate to children?
Also, Eric, we got to go way back.
Mhm.
I from 95 to 2000, I worked at Disney
That's
World.
right. You did.
I spent a lot of time learning how to operate and deal with kids, and all that's just ingrained with me. And my
Mm.
mentor, Terry Ward, one of the greatest performers of all time, he and I learned from him. I learned from what he was able to do and how he does it, and
Mhm.
he's so good at it. And it's just and I was very lucky to be able to absorb all that in. And then and then I sort of went in another direction. I
Mhm.
spent all my time doing corporate card tricks and not really doing a lot of stuff that involved families. And then I went back to it. So it wasn't that hard of a transition for me to do that. And to answer your question, to give actual advice, I mean, kids just want to be treated like people. And if you just treat them like people and have fun with them, they will have fun with you. And that's it. Like as long as I'm not like talking down to them, as long as I'm like my favorite interaction, my favorite sort of genuine like sort of I'm trying to think of like a mode of operation. That's even the right term, but like the way that I usually approach, especially like 6, 7, 8-year-old boys, is like they're just bothering me, and they think it's hilarious. Like so
Mm.
they're like, and the greatest card trick you can do for kids, bar none, is David Williamson's 3 card trick from Williamson's Wonders and from the Slide of Day videos that I'm sure you saw. That is the best card trick you can do for kids because it is basically a 3 to 4 card repeat type thing. It's like a 6 card repeat, but like a 4 card repeat. And you can the whole time you're like, look, stop doing this. You're doing this on purpose. And it's you have a kid whole and the kids are just laughing so hard because they're getting to have one up on the magician, so they get power, which is what really children want. They were trying to have power. They want to have some sort of control over the world because they really don't have it at that moment. And you get to play in that field of like, oh man, kid, you bothering me, and it's so fun. Like just a great thing, and other things like that are awesome, fun close up things to do with kids Like you can, like, people, sponge balls and sponge bunnies, all that stuff. Yeah, of course. All that's great. But play with them, like really have fun. Like, let that stuff actually go. And then if you take that same type of energy and put it on stage, well, that's what I did. I basically just said I took that energy and I cast people in the role. So this little kid is going to be bothersome to me. And so now I'm going to have a reason. He's going to mess something up that I set up that he messed up. And then now I'm going to have a reason to be upset with him. I'm using air quotes our audio listeners. And so then I can then have that relationship with him and it's hilarious. And the kid thinks it's great. And so, like, anytime you can have, just a, you know, just a fun little exchange. You don't have to, if you talk to them like you would talk to anybody. Erik, say that's my theory. I mean, my advice to you: just talk to them like literally. You know what? Like if you do, the greatest trick you can do for a kid with a deck of cards, other than the Williamson trick, the double lift trick. Here's a card that is not the card you think it is. Hold this in your hands. Now wave your hand over it. Now really think about your card. Now turn it over. Kids freak out. If you do and then after that, be honest, what is it? The effector trick. Do the effector trick, but they were calls 2-card money, which is nuts. It's be honest, what is it? If you do that trick for a kid, and they're going to be fried, and all the kids around them are going to think it's the greatest thing ever. I guarantee. What next? Do this in your restaurant, Tait. Next time, and then come back and on this video and say, all right, yeah, Armstrong was right.
Okay, I will do that. I will go back and relearn those tricks and stop and stop being afraid of the children.
You have to relearn a double lift?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I too much stage magic. So.
I guess so.
So what's next for Jon Armstrong? He's climbed the one pillars of parlor magic.
What's next for me? I'm still working on book number 2. So hopefully, and that's going to be more about just straight routines with illustrations and videos and things and stuff that I would. It's also again all stand-up stuff. And then what's next is just more of the same. I'm very lucky that I get to perform on Disney Cruise Line, and that's my main thing. I'm touring performing arts centers and the events I get to do. And it's great. I'm a lot of time with me and my kid at Disneyland. That's really what I'm looking forward to, is more time with me and my kid at Disneyland.
That's fantastic. Jon, thanks so much for coming on the show. Congratulations again on the award. And we'll have you back the next time you win something big.
All right. Awesome. Thanks.
That's going to do it for this week, kids. Thanks so much to Jon for being on the show, and thanks to you for listening. Next week, I'll be in Des Moines, Iowa for Abra Corn Dabra, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of the Penguin fans there. I just submitted my set to the Magic Castle for my upcoming appearance in the Parlor of Prestidigitation, and I'm excited to present my lecture, Demystifying the Moves, to AMA members while I'm in Los Angeles. We have some super cool interviews coming up here on the podcast that I can't wait to talk to you about. As always, we're a weekly podcast, so be sure to like and subscribe, as well as share your favorite episodes on the social media platform that you are sharing cute photos of your dog on. If you wanted to reach out to me about anything on this week's show, you're going to have to lure this chug off my chest. What's a chug, you ask? It's an adorable Chihuahua pug mix named Boo that I really need Rocco and Bellatrix to make friends with soon. My life is basically attending to the whims of the herd of Chihuahuas that control my life. But if appeasing tiny dogs with big ears and bigger personalities isn't your cup of tea, you can always hit me up on Instagram at Erik Tait. That's at ERIKTAIT. From me and everyone else here at the P3 Magic Studios, practice, perform.